All right, guys, I know a lot of people are doing videos on top baits of February. Unfortunately, in our region, February is looking a lot like January in terms of just being completely blown out and completely snow and sleet and freezing rain with another storm coming Tuesday, Wednesday. Looks like it's going to be the same as we've seen the last few weeks. So I'm going to skip February, and I'm going to start doing some videos on spring and get you guys ahead of where you want to be. With some baits that you probably are unfamiliar with. It amazes me how many people are going to be unfamiliar with the bait that I'm going to show you today. And a lot of it has to do with a couple of these baits and trailers, because a lot of it does have, I think, to do with supply, because they get sold out really quickly, and the guys that are in the know pretty much buy up a lot of stuff. You guys have probably seen that after a recent show with Battle Baits and its new brigade style, chatter style release at the East Tennessee Fishing Show, where people were just buying up like specific colors like in mass, and that's a lot what happens even with big time major producers when something hits. And a lot of times people play a lot more things closer to the vest nowadays, probably than ever before, which seems kind of weird when you factor in social media and all the pro anglers have YouTube and Instagram and all these things. But in reality, unless it's like a mass-produced bait, they probably do have to play it closer to the vest. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about tidal fisheries. Because I know I get a lot of questions. A lot of people reach out to me about largemouth bass fishing in the Mid-Atlantic, especially they know I live on the Potomac, and fish that fishery quite a bit, both the tidal Potomac and the upper Potomac. Although now I tend to prefer to chase smallmouth, but still go down there. When I still go down, it amazes me how many people, when you get and you talk to people down there, doesn't matter whether you're going to State Park or you're going to Leesylvania if you're in Virginia, or you're going to the State Park over in Maryland, where all the pro events go out of. A lot of the talk has always, the last few years, has been chatterbaits and things like that, in the grass and Mattawoman and Potomac Creek, Aquia Creek, all the creeks in the tidal fishery. And a lot of people have missed out on a lot of the opportunities that a lot of the locals have seen over the last 5 years. And I don't subscribe to the view that it's because of live scope or forward-facing sonar. I just don't, because if you've been around, you've seen this move long before 2018. Okay, long before the last few years of really live scope and forward-facing sonar technology taking over on a lot of tournament. You still don't find it nearly as much out on the river for non-tournament people, and they're the bulk of the people that are fishing in the entire total fishery, tidal Potomac fishery. So it's still not taken over, but we began to see this change not only in grass in the Potomac River. The loss of grass during a lot of the revitalizations in D.C., the barging and the stuff of bridge repairs and things like that affected the grass flats, and there's still flats like Greenway. There's still flats that have grass, but there used to be a lot more grass back between 2000 and 2010. There used to be a lot more grass in a lot of different areas. And now we got some grass coming in some other areas, more of the southern creeks as opposed to up in D.C., but some of the grass is starting to come back. But there's still a lot of people catching really great bags, where they probably didn't fish years ago. And you'll hear a lot about studies that are coming out about, bass being moved out of shallow, because of technology and stuff. I really am not to the point where I can speak on that, in terms of, because the studies are studies. Anybody can do a study and craft a study however they want. Doesn't matter. So I'll have to dig a little bit deeper into that. But we have seen a lot more bass being caught in the channel and in deeper areas that probably most people don't think about when they think about the tidal Potomac. They think more about the creek. We're conditioned to think about the creeks and the shallow grass and all that. And the reason why we're preconditioned is because most of the tournaments that get televised or get a lot of coverage about the tidal Potomac during those periods of where the fish have moved up shallow to spawn, moving up shallow. A lot of events are either right at pre-spawn or, during spawn or right after spawn, right? And then you'll get a scattering of events in August and September on a schedule late in the season. But most of the spring events are centered around where we're still seeing the bass move shallow, obviously. But there are shallower areas even that aren't in creeks, right, that are going to provide opportunities now for bass to spawn. And a lot of these areas are either in and around or in close proximity or just flat out right in the middle of grass, okay? And that's just the product of a tidal fishery. And so you got to open up your mind a little bit in terms of, a lot of guys will come up and they're thinking like they're just going to fish grass and they're going shallow, and that the Potomac River events, sort of like the James River events have evolved down in Virginia with events this year. That fishery has evolved as well as to being a real balance of shallow dock, grass, and deeper, like now deeper water. And so it's kind of like just as a fishery evolves and as these things happen, the fish, tend to behave, in like respects. And so more and more bags are being caught in areas that you probably aren't familiar with because people don't talk about them much. But one of the baits I'm going to talk about is a bait that I think that everybody who fishes a tidal fishery, does not matter where, in my opinion, should have. And that is what's called a weedless. It's a swimming jig, okay? So which is it's amazing to me how that category has changed in the last 5 years of the things that we consider to be swimming jig. But this is a Valley Hill beat rider, okay? All right, and look at the difference in this particular presentation, okay? When you're thinking about grass, okay? Swimming a chatterbait, okay? Rolling a chatterbait, moving a chatterbait, burning a chatterbait through grass, right? And all that entails. And then think about how the action of this style swim jig, okay, with this bent wire here is going to operate in your grass, okay, in the different ways in which that you can move this particular bait. For those looking for it, I know sometimes we show the baits and we don't show the packaging, but this is how it's packaged, okay? You can see it's Valley Hill Weedless Swimming Jig. Doesn't really have the beat rider on it really on the packaging. It's on the side, so sometimes people miss it hanging up on a shelf, hanging up on a peg a lot of times. But just ask. There's a couple of different, really like just different innovative things that are coming out now. Obviously, Valley Hill is overseas from Japan, and I expect this to probably be the next replication in North America with bait manufacturers in terms of their innovation. Unfortunately, that tends to be what happens. You can get a little shot at that head. So it's just a really, really great profile. Okay, it's actually got a really great, which I love about this, is it's got a really great keeper in there too. And the reason why I say that is because you certainly can fish it any number of ways. There are people who crank this like they would a crankbait. It is absolutely crazy the amount of flexibility that this design gives you as you're coming through. Some guys will do it in rock areas too, rock and grassy areas, because you just don't get snagged. You're not going to get snagged through that grass, okay? Some of that grass can get really, really thick as it grows up as you get through early spring to mid-spring, right? It can get really thick, and you want to get in there, and you can just maneuver this through that simply because it just doesn't get snagged. it's just really, really fundamentally a really great bass catcher. I mean, it just is, because first of all, the action is a lot different than a chatterbait. We all know that, okay? But the different ways that you can present this, and you can move this in areas that you're not going to throw your you're not going to be able to throw your chatterbait. You just wouldn't want to. And its movement is a little bit different. Now, I say this about why I'm kind of bipolar when it comes to this bait, because I also will throw this bait for smallmouth. Typically when the river is up, if my river now is rising, we'll probably be at like 5-6 feet. Probably could be at 7 feet after the storm. So if I go out on Friday, Saturday on the back end of this storm, I'm going to reach for this and a couple other, spinner baits or bladed baits, other bladed baits, because of that rising water from the snow and the snow melt and the runoff and all that stuff. And they're talking like we're going to get pounded again. So this is going to be one. And the reason why I really love this bait a lot is because I can change up my trailers and still be able to be really, really effective. When I'm going up the upper Potomac and I'm going for smallmouth, for example, I'm going to go with a really, really I want to bulk that profile up a little bit. Okay. You certainly can run it just like this. It's highly effective. But what I found is, for me, and it could be my equipment as opposed to, your equipment that you might have in terms of your rod and your reel setup. We're all kind of like, pretty anal about what we like, and we stick with what we like. And it may not always be the best kind of equipment, rod and reel for every type of bait that people are telling you catch fish. And so you may be able to cast further. You may be able to pull back away from that grass flat, and cast further depending on your line brand, your reel, and your rod, right? And what your preference is. For me, because I tend to like 6'4", 6'6", 6'8", and I tend to like medium heavy rods, and I tend to like that's just what I feel comfortable fishing, and it doesn't work truly effectively for all presentations. You may want to bulk the profile up to add a little weight to it. At least that's what I do. So I'm not as much trying to have a trailer profile behind the bait as much as I am trying to bulk the profile, okay, without messing with my hook, okay, and get some casting distance, okay, especially in the upper Potomac, places like the upper Potomac, the Allegheny, and Susquehanna, okay, where this is really, really, really effective. And I'm going to be down on the new early March, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to try this out as well on the New River down in early March, and just kind of change up. I'll change it to a different color and profile with my trailer colors, but I'm going to do that as well because it is highly effective on your inland rivers, but mainly grass. So wherever you've got grass. So if I'm on the upper, or if I'm in shallower areas, or I want to increase that profile for casting distance, I'll add simply like 2.3 to 2.6 size. Okay, and again, like I said, I'm not looking for that trailer action. Okay, That's not my intent. You certainly can, and I'll show you a couple plastics you can use for that. I'm looking to bulk the profile up. Okay, I want to add weight to the profile. Okay, for castability reasons. Okay, but it still has. This is a Raid Battle Hog Sandfish color. Okay, this is an awesome. This comes from my finesse arsenal. Okay. And I'm going to start doing a lot more videos on finesse, because I really think finesse is going to continue to expand in 2025 and 2026. This is a Battle Hog Sandfish. This is a 2.6. And now on the upper Potomac and my inland fisheries that have this kind of shiner-based forage species, that's what I'm going to go for, okay? But I can take the same, if I want to, I could take the same bait rider, and change to, this is a smoky purple pearl, okay? So if I'm in the shallow creeks of the tidal Potomac and the grass that's growing there, okay, I can go with that, okay? So this is I love that pearl color bottom. This is one of my favorite color bottoms, guys. If any of you guys ever fish inland river systems in Virginia, like the New River, is that cream colored bottom. okay, and smoky pearl, okay. So those are 2.6s, okay. So you're not going to get a 2.6. Look how long that is, okay. You're not going to get a 2.6. You're going to need a 3.3, 3.5, 3.8, okay. If you want to go big and you want to go bulky. What I'll also do is Valley Hill has the Eba Shad, which is really meant to be the trailer for this if you can find them. But you can also substitute the Valley Hill Devil Shaker. It's another one of my favorite finesse baits, guys. If you are a guy into, like, you know, fishing for smallmouth, hellgrammites, things like that, Susquehanna, rivers like that, you need to check out the Valley Hill Devil Shaker. Okay, this is a 2.3, but it's got so much. Look at all that action going on with this thing. And this is the packaging right here. Is a Valley Hill Devil Shaker, 2.3. And again, that would just be to, like, you know, to add a little bit of profile to it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Tidal Potomac, okay? Obviously, we're going to go big, okay, on the Tidal Potomac, generally speaking. And so you can go with the trailers that are going to be thicker and longer, okay? And there's such an many of things that work on this bait. Something as, you know, as normal. This is a 3.8, okay? Love this. This is an Adusta, okay? 3.8. The action on this is probably one of the most underrated, okay? Because people that know don't talk about it, okay? They just do not talk about it, all right? Because it is absolutely lights out killer, okay, on tidal fisheries like the Potomac and the James River, okay? It just absolutely is. Doesn't matter what. So you can throw that on there, okay, which is going to it's going to do the boat. It's going to also going to have a lot of that action coming off the back. If you can kind of see how long, think about all this fluttering, okay? Look at that. It's 3 separate strands, okay? Fluttering, all right? Okay, that's a 3.8. This is what the packaging looks like. It's a 3.8 Adusta, okay? Gadget crawl. It says crow on the packaging, but I think they mean crawl. But you can find it sometimes like that, and how that translates. Now, that, of course, and a lot of what I'm going to show you here that's going to go with the Beat Rider are also some of the baits that are really just been knocking it out of the park with your hover strolling, right? They're the same kind of action baits, which is put them in massive demand, which is make it inevitably a lot harder to, you know, to find, okay? And that's going to be your split tails, like your fish rollers, which are crazy sick on this bait. This is a sandfish. This is a 4-inch fish roller sandfish pattern, okay? Okay, crazy sick on this bait. Look at that. Think about that action in the water, okay? Crazy sick. Again, see the similarity? Let's get back to this, because it's important. If you're looking at your forage species, you want to know why you're not getting bit in a lot of inland, because you're throwing black and blue in inland fisheries, okay? Maybe going for smallmouth, spotted bass, or largemouth. You're wondering why you're not really getting, because black and blue is a tidal thing because of the blue crab, right? It really is, okay? Not to say that you can't get bit, but you're going to get bit more on natural colors, okay, in your inland, okay, river systems. Again, doesn't mean that you can't get bit with black and blue, but it's not a primary color that's just going to get you obliterated, okay? But it is nice to have those that have that. Look at that little blue flake in there, okay? But it just doesn't need to be that black and blue jig or that black and blue, okay? Now, Tidal's a little bit different because black and blue is a primary color because of the forage and because of the situation on the Tidal Potomac. So, again, sandfish color, inland, okay? Anywhere you're going to get minnow, shiner kind of deal. When you're going to go shad, or you're going to go like, you know, herring, shad, things like that, this is where you want to go with a dark color, okay? So this is a dark cinnamon shad, okay? Cinnamon shad, look at that. That just screams the Tidal Potomac, okay? And the species of forage that you're going to find that the largemouth are fishing on. And again, matches completely into that. Certainly can change your colors. There's about 10 different colors of these available. I tend to like the golds. I tend to like those that I can use in both targeting for my smallmouth most of the time, and then when I get a chance to go largemouth bass fishing, I've got the same arsenal that I could just change up. But look at that, okay? And you can just see what the action's going to be. Now, I mentioned earlier about hover strolling. That's why these right now, you know, these fish rollers are probably two of the most popular that you're finding now. The guys are talking about, you know, or throwing on, you know, the Gabagatsu, Horizon Head. You're going to hear about that a lot if you haven't already. The Smelt Head, you know. There's also the Smeltonator, I think, from up north. You're going to find a lot of that, okay, that you're going to want to, look at if you haven't gotten into that segment yet, because you obviously basically can grab these plastics and also use for presentations. If you happen to be, somebody happens to let you like share the screen and you're live scoping and you're in a tournament and you want to pack these out and have these just in case someone's willing to share their screen with you or to bring you and let you do that. Otherwise, I would go with something else, something completely else, because you're going to be targeting different fish. You're going to still be able to find, you should still be able to find, some deeper grass as well. One of the other baits that really works really effectively on the Beat Rider is your OSP sticks. It's very simple. Look at that. Very simple. See how that sticks a lot further out? Okay? So if you want that kind of action like that, if you want action on the back of this, you got it in a Do Live stick, and that is packed. That's a 3.5. That's packaged in these smaller packages from OSP. Tons of colors. These are just great standalone baits as well. When you're in a pinch, you need to get a bite. Love these baits. That's from OSP. It's a 3.5. And you'll see, I tend to, if you watch my videos enough, you'll tend to, I really like these natural colors, okay? These natural where I can add these trailer profiles, change them up to add to the components. There's another one right here is a custom bait. It's kind of like a cross between what we would throw. What you would throw, fly fishermen would be throwing for like trout or like smallmouth fly fishing inland, and then cross utilize it, with something like this, and it just becomes a sick profile. And these are made locally in Richmond, Virginia. Just message me, I'll put you in contact with the bait maker for these. And what you're going to find a lot of times is just that it's something that they haven't seen, and it's fish, and what I call fish different is you're there with a lot of other boats, and they're all throwing chatterbaits, they're all throwing loud baits, or they're out whatever, and in this regard, it's a silent killer, man. Like, it's just a little bit different. They get conditioned to the chatterbait, early spring, or maybe they've been conditioned to that lipless crankbait, which we all tend to love in early spring, and that knocker, and they just pretty much get, when you're rolling through spring and you want to throw something different. This is something that you want to look into, okay? They're hard to find. If you message me, I can put you in contact with some of the dealers that actually have these when they have them, because not everybody, you're not going to find this at every store, obviously, because they're very, very limited production that comes into the States. But it's Valley Hill, okay, your weedless swimming jig. This is a quarter ounce, okay? And I've got a couple of these. I probably have a half dozen of these in two different colors. But I primarily love that. To me, is just a natural color. Perfect. This is a number one, by the way. If you could find it online, this is a number one. I know it's harder because they don't really list a lot of times the color names for a lot of these baits that come from Japan, but this is actually the number one. So it's like gold. It's got that cream, silicone skirt. And again, like I said, it's got that keeper right there too, so you can pretty much use your imagination on what you want to use for that, and then have some fun with it, man, and play around with it. Adjust your cadence. Like I said, I rip these things. I'll fish these like crankbaits a lot of times and just rip it through the grass. You know, depending on how your positioning is, if you're a kayak angler, where you position that kayak is going to be every bit as important, you know, as how you actually present the bait, because as it comes through that grass, and what you'll find is as it's coming through that grass, man, you're gonna see that chase. It's not uncommon to see 2 or 3, 4 smallmouth just chase this thing, and so. You know, you just want to play around with it. Again, play with your. I like to use a lot more buoyant line myself, because I want this kind of like to stay above the grass a little. I can rip it through the grass if it goes in the grass. It's no problem. But I also want it to be able to come out of the grass and kind of be like more buoyant. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your line that you're going to use when you're going to throw these. You know, so you can keep that a little bit in the water column. Maybe even above that grass line as you're moving along. And when you get into that pocket, you can let it fall down a little bit and play it that way. It's just really, really great. Again, also show you some stuff on the back. Okay, it'll help you understand the bait a little bit more and the bait action and what you can do. Again, ultra sharp hook, Valley Hill weedless swimming jig. It is called the Beat Rider. Okay, this is a 4 ounce. I'm sorry, a quarter ounce. This is a quarter ounce. Okay, and this is the #1 pattern for those interested. All right, guys.